Hey guys, it's Matt, and after about, 20 years of playing N64, that is almost painful to say actually, one of the most difficult things about still enjoying the system, for me, is the fact that the thumbsticks will wear out. And now getting replacements for those thumbsticks is very difficult. You can either buy a brand new controller, which is getting ridiculously expensive. You can try to find some good used ones out in the wild, which is not as expensive, but can be difficult to do. And then you can buy some replacement thumbsticks. And a lot of the thumbsticks have good and bad things about them. They all have shortcomings. There's nothing really on the market right now that can reproduce the same feel and the same performance that you get from an original N64 thumbstick. And so Kitschbent has actually started selling these, and they are actual pieces that go inside, the gears that tend to wear out inside the thumbstick. Now this is one of the pieces that'll wear out. I know the bowl wears out and the thumbstick itself is going to wear as well. But right now I feel like these are the biggest culprits of a loose thumbstick, is these X and Y gear pieces that go inside there. So Kitschbent.com is where I got these. And they may be the only people in the world that's actually manufacturing and selling these. I couldn't tell you for sure. But that's where I got these. They ship just like this in a nice protective envelope. Came in a plastic baggie. I got everything. I ordered 4 pair, and they were all there. So happy with the delivery and the service from Kitschbent. And here's the actual pieces. This will help focus a little bit. And these are the actual pieces that we're looking at that I got from Kitschbent.com. And you can tell these are definitely injection molded pieces. As you can see, there's some little tabs on there that I'm probably going to have to sand off. But as far as durability, I was very happy because you can squeeze these little bad boys, and they really don't give. I mean, there's a little play in there, but these are nice, hard plastic pieces, and they seem fairly well molded. But the question is, how do they compare to the actual OEM pieces? So what I have here is I have an N64 controller. This is a brand new N64 controller. I actually bought this as part of a display setup where the controller was never used inside the store. And so I've compared this to my other new controllers, and as far as the dead zone here, it's exactly the same as my controllers that are new and in the box. And then there's this guy here, which you can tell I've logged some laps on Mario Kart 64. So what I'd like to do is I want to take my brand new controller apart, and I want to take the gear pieces out of it and compare those to the Kitschbent gear pieces and see if there's any visible differences, maybe take a few measurements and things like that. The question kind of is, what's our benchmark? I mean, this is kind of going to be our control here, the new N64 controller. And I want to apologize, first off, because I looked everywhere for a ruler that had millimeters on it, and best I could do is 30 of an inch. So for people who, and honestly, I'd rather work in millimeters, but if you like, you'll have to convert 30 of an inch to millimeters. So if we take some measurements here and try to determine what is the dead zone of a new N64 controller, you're going to get about 1/32 of an inch. That's about the dead zone of a controller that is new out of the box. And as opposed to this one, and your controllers are going to be in varied stages of decay, much as mine are. This happens to be my worst controller. If we take a look here, our dead zone is about 4 to 5/32 of an inch. So considerably more worn out than the original controller. So what I'd like to do is I would like to take the new controller, compare these Kitschbent pieces to that, and then put the Kitschbent pieces in this wore-out controller and see how close it gets the feel and performance of an old worn-out controller to a brand new controller. There's lots of guides for taking your controllers and your thumbsticks apart. If you'd like those, you can find those on YouTube. I wouldn't be the first guy to do it, so go ahead and look that up, and I'll come back once I have these OEM pieces out of the new controller. Okay, so now that I have it apart, here are the brand new pieces out of the OEM thumbstick. Here are the Kitschbent pieces on the right, and the differences are few, but they are somewhat noticeable, and whether I'll be able to get those differences to appear on camera will remain to be seen. If you can tell The Nintendo piece is on the right, and it looks a little smoother inside. If you'll notice kind of the part where the thumbstick will actually slide back and forth. Looks a little bit smoother, a little more refined. And just the overall finish of the piece is just a little bit more refined, I guess you could say. Will this translate to anything? I'm not sure. Take a look at the side here. You can see some slight molding differences. There's a 3 on the OEM piece, and the other piece just has some remnants of the casting on there. As far as the shape, they seem fairly similar. Really, there's not a lot of differences. The kitch bent piece might have, maybe a little bit of distortion. As you can see, the Nintendo piece is relatively flat. It's not perfect either. I'm talking about this axis that goes this way through the piece. Honestly, I'd say that the kitch bent piece is about the same in regards. If anything, the finish is just a little bit rougher, not quite as refined, and I assume that that may translate to a little bit rougher stick movement. But I suppose you could get crazy and polish these pieces up if you wanted to. The sturdiness of the plastic seems to be relatively the same as far as flexibility. I was not able to get either piece to move. So there you go. These are the smaller pieces here. As you can see, the Nintendo piece has a casting number on it. The kitch bent piece, just some remnants of its casting. But, I mean, they're very similar. And so I guess there you go. That's the differences between the old and the new. And we'll put them in the old controller now and see if it's changed the dead zone. And then we'll actually play some games and see if it makes a difference. I'll be back. Okay, so before I reassemble all this, I figure we'll take this old joystick apart and see how it compares to the new pieces. And as you can see if I can refocus, look at all the junk in there. And you can already tell that this piece has been worn, and there you can see that those lines are not exactly straight anymore. But all this chalky dust comes not only from these gears, but also from this white bowl down in here. So again, we're not sure yet how much we're going to increase the performance of this joystick just by replacing these pieces. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these all apart. Let's go ahead and set this down here. And let's just compare this piece to the kitch bent piece. As you can see, this joystick is visibly more worn than the original. You can really see it there. See where those molding pieces are? Come on, camera. The thumbstick is actually dug into the molding on the plastic. Now these thumbsticks, both of these thumbsticks, my new OEM one and this one that I just took apart, were unlubed. And what I plan on doing is I'm going to lubricate this and all this to reassemble it, because I can't think of a reason why you would take this all apart, put these new pieces in, and not add some lube. So if you want a dry test, I guess you can request a dry test and we can see how these perform with no lubrication, but I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to put these back together and have them lubricated. Yeah, look at that. That's all the stuff, that chalky stuff that comes out of your N64 thumbsticks. Tastes terrific. Okay, I'll get this cleaned up, put back together, and then we'll finally start getting to some results. Hey, I'm back, and I got the new kitch bent pieces installed in the thumbstick. right? Can't you tell? I will say that in this little area right in here, right in there, I had to do some sanding to get those things to look right. Come on, you can focus on that. I know you can. I had to do some sanding right in here, in this little notch, to get these pieces to rotate smoothly. I don't know if you can see kind of that reflection there. It's a little bit of the casting that you just got to sand down. Otherwise, it just doesn't move very freely. And so afterwards, initial impressions, it feels, I mean, a lot like a regular N64 thumbstick. It feels a little bit tighter than, it doesn't kind of have that, it still snaps back, but it didn't tighten it up a whole lot. Where were we at before? We were at 530 seconds. So if we measure it now, total dead zone is about 3. So it did tighten up the thumbstick, and honestly, it's better than it was, but it's not as good as a regular N64 OEM joystick. And I think a lot of that is because the N64 thumbstick wears as a unit. It's not just these pieces that are the ones that are wearing out. It's also the bowl. There's notches that these sit in on the bowl. Those wear out. There's even pieces on this gray surround that these pieces sit into that wear as well. And of course the actual thumbstick itself wears out, which is why I believe that we've still got a little play here, because this thumbstick itself has worn and isn't the same diameter as it used to be when it was new. So even if you have brand new pieces like this, unless this is also new, and as well as your bowl also new, you're just not going to get that same brand new feeling. Now, having it lubed up, I'm going to stick this in. I'm going to play a few different games, and we're going to see if this has adversely affected any of the performance of the games. So we'll do that, and I'll be back. Alright, time for the only thing that matters, the games. And I've got a few games here to try out. One game that was requested, Super Smash Brothers. I don't own that. I'm like the only person in the world that doesn't. So we're going to try out Goldeneye. I know that with some aftermarket joysticks, there's some issues with sniper rifle, things like that. Super Mario 64, I found that making Mario crawl and walk and doing some of the fine movements in the cannon, aiming, has something to do there. My favorite, Mario Kart 64, I'm going to try to lay down some hot time trial laps. And then Ocarina of Time. We're going to try this out, the sword spin circle maneuver, see if that works there. So let's start with Goldeneye. Ah, man, 1997. This was my life. This was the greatest thing in the world, pretty much ever. And to this day, still, pretty much ever. We'll go Secret Agent so I don't completely embarrass myself. I'm not as good at Goldeneye as I once was. And I was never that great. But we'll see here. The thumbstick, I mean, it feels great, really. Does it feel exactly the same? No, like I say, it's a little stiffer, a little more rough. But I think a lot of that has to do with the bowl inside that's worn out. I don't think you can really blame that on the kitch bent pieces. Alright, James Bond, let's do this thing. So we're going to come out here. And so far, I mean, feels very familiar. And, yeah, I have no problem. I mean, any flaws you see in gameplay likely are not going to be the fault of the kitch bent pieces. They're probably going to be because I'm just not that good at games. So, okay, sniper rifle time. We'll see if we can take out these two dudes way down there in the bunker. Or how about this rude dude right here? So far, so good. I mean, you can move it around. That's one of the problems that people complained about, is you couldn't turn and aim the sniper rifle with some of the aftermarket joysticks. So let's see if we can nail these guys. Oh, whoa. Again, not Kitchben's fault. It's because I'm terrible at video games. But yeah, I feel confident to say that Goldeneye passes the test. Let's move on to Super Mario 64. Okay, sure. even now when I hear that sound and when I come into this courtyard here, it's just amazing how blown away I was at the time playing these games. And that's part of the reason why I want to preserve the feeling, and I hate settling for something that absolutely just is not, that's going to take away from the experience, I guess, of what these games used to be like. Really, I mean, this is great because you probably can't see it, but I'm just barely putting any effort at all on the joystick, and it is moving the cannon. And there's just very light pressure. It's sensitive. It's as sensitive as the regular N64 control stick ever was. So I consider that a good thing, and I would say so far looking pretty good as far as Super Mario 64 and some of those games. So, okay, let's not waste any time. Let's move on. Ocarina of Time is one game, throwing it around, that people had issues doing the circle attack, and after testing this out, I realized that I never did use the circle attack. I always just charged up the sword and then did it that way. Oh yeah, and that's another thing I discovered today, is that all of my save files got obliterated. At some point, the battery in here must be dead or dying, because it was completely empty, like it was brand new. So I went ahead and got as far as getting the sword, and that's enough to test it out. So, but now I got to go back and replay Ocarina of Time, which is not a bad thing. So let's see, circle attack. Not bad. Works every time. I like it. Okay. Now, what destroyed this controller in the first place, which is Mario Kart 64 Time Trials. Come on, baby. There we go. And we'll go to one of my old favorites, Mario Raceway. Oh man, I spent so much time playing. Like, I spent probably more time doing time trials on this track than I've spent on many other games. And it's been so long, I'm probably going to get my butt kicked, but oh, this is serious business now. See, I would have already restarted by now, back in the day. Oh, this is embarrassing. Alright, get it together. Come on. I've been playing so much Mario Kart 8, I'll blame it on that. But, yeah, I think the fault in the gaming is not the Kitch Bent Pieces' fault, as much as it is, you know, me sucking at gaming. And I used to be so good at this track. So good. It's all gone. It takes a while. I take that back. It comes back, but it takes a while. I just gotta run through this. Otherwise, I can't leave Mario Raceway unfinished. Get up there, Peach. Come on. This is pathetic. 30 seconds for a lap. Wow. I'm not the best, like, I'm never even close to the best in the world. I used to think I was, back before the internet, and then I realized how many people are insanely good at this game. Luckily, I grabbed my screen name on a lot of websites before I realized I was not the best in the world. Can't even beat the staff ghost. So embarrassing. But, you know, when I was hitting the turbo slides, it felt pretty good. I'm going to have to say, overall, it has passed the test. So there you go. The Kitch Bent Pieces, they're not going to make your controller like new, but they will improve it. They will take an original one. You will keep, for the most part, the original feeling of the controller, but don't expect miracles. Until somebody starts reproducing the entire thing, we're still going to be kind of out of luck. And even at that, it's still tough for these third parties to nail what Nintendo put together. Maybe we'll get lucky and Nintendo will re-release the GameCube controller along with, I don't know, the N64 Virtual Console, and we can get a remake of the N64 controller just like they did with the GameCube. Come on, Nintendo. It's just money. Thanks for watching, and I hope if you try these pieces out, I hope you enjoy them. And if you have any different opinions or any different feelings about these pieces, please be sure to share. Thanks.